Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis, the podcast where we'll dive deep into the world of educational leadership. I'm your host, Addison Davis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we embark on the inspiring journey together. As a superintendent once myself, I understand the challenges and complexities that come with leading a school district. But what I've come to realize is that there's abundance of amazing work being done by superintendents all across our country. This podcast is a platform to shine a spotlight on their incredible accomplishments and innovative approaches. Each episode will bring you exclusive interviews and superintendents from various districts across our country, both big and small, urban and rural, as they share their personal stories, triumphs, and even their moments of vulnerability. We will explore the strategies they employ to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of education, from fostering equity and inclusivity to embracing technology and preparing students for their future. But this podcast isn't just about showcasing success. It's about fostering a community of educational leaders who can learn from one another, share their experiences, and collectively navigate the complexities of our role. We'll discuss the tough topics as well, the difficult decisions, and the innovative solutions that are transforming education for the better. So while you're an educator, a parent, a student, or simply someone who's passionate about education, this podcast is for you. Superintendents Unplugged is your behind-the-scenes pass to the world of educational leadership, where we uncover the stories that inspire, motivate, and empower every one of us. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and entertained as we embark on this incredible journey together. I can't wait to introduce you to the remarkable superintendents who are changing the educational landscape one district at a time. Welcome to another episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis. I'm Addison Davis, your host. Today we have a special guest with us from Colorado, Dr. Don Haddad from St. Vrain School District in Colorado. Thank you so very much for being with us, Doc. It's always a pleasure. I know from being a superintendent for many years in multiple school districts, I've been able to watch your success and do some really cool things. But today we're at AASA here talking about best practices and work and how you've been a champion for children. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. So, you know what, I'm going to jump right into this. As we talk about best practices and work, and we look at superintendents across the nation, you know what, the stability has been somewhat unstable in the last, 5 to 10 years related to having superintendents in the same seat, doing the same work and doing the great things for kids. But I have to say, you have a recipe for success going into your 16th year of superintendency. How do you do it?
You know, I'll tell you, first of all, I think you, and I know many superintendents do, but you really do have to have a deep love for public education.
Amen.
And I think that purpose is what enables me to always stay grounded. We live in a very political time right now. It's always political. But the last several years with the pandemic and everything, but whenever things get challenging, which they do on a regular basis, you just go back to your purpose.
That's right.
And you go back to your experiences. And having been in education, I'm going into my 40th year
wow,
of
say it again.
Yeah, no, 40 years. It's,
congratulations. Tip my hat to you, Doc.
That's a long time. But you also call on your experiences so that you know that something's about to happen intuitively, and you can lay the foundation. The other thing that I think is really important, and I would tell you it's probably the greatest reason for my longevity, is surrounding yourself with a team
That's right.
of experienced people that stay with you as a team for a long time. The overwhelming majority of our cabinet, we've been together for over a decade.
Wow.
And they're all very experienced, and so you know you're not in this alone.
Yeah.
And that's really a big deal.
I mean, that is a big deal. I mean, we talk about stability of a superintendency, and you're only as good as your next hire, and you have a cabinet that's been with you for over 10 years. How do you keep them, Doc? Yeah. I mean, because you know what? They got to be aspiring leaders to maybe potentially go be superintendents. But obviously, you know what? You get to a part where individuals don't work for a system, but they work for a leader. And in your spot, you must be inspiring to create that culture. How do you do it?
You know, we have built this sense of public education really is the driving force behind our country. We talk about public education oftentimes in terms of test scores and learning and achievement, and all of that's absolutely true. We believe public education is at the heart of what makes America successful. You have 90% of the students in America, K through 12, are in our public schools. And when you have a team that has really invested themselves in that belief, it's no longer a job. It's about doing something for the greater good. And we all believe that. And we all have a lot of opportunity for leadership. It's not a top-down system,
Sure.
But that purpose, that belief, that conviction around public education gives people the ability and the desire to stay in it and keep doing the work.
Yes, sir. I just hear that war in your heart to fight for children every single day, and that's what it takes to be in these positions. And, at 16 years in the saddle of superintendency, you've seen a lot. I mean, for right now, looking at the state of superintendency, any advice that you would give aspiring leaders right now as they transition or journey or start a new venture, or start a new district, or come up from a number 2 to a number 1 as they transition to be able to lead and do cool things for children? Any advice that you would extend to them?
Yeah, I think, oftentimes people say relationships, and it's true.
Yes, sir.
But they have to be sincere and meaningful relationships. And so one of the first things that I recall is getting to know all of the stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the students, the business community, the elected officials, the civic organizations, the media, law enforcement, the faith-based organizations, and really working together to help them out. This is your system. And this system is going to build your economy and public safety, and it's going to raise your values on your homes and businesses, the service industry, the workforce, democracy. And when you get an entire community working in that direction together, you can do a lot as a superintendent. If you get mired in the day-to-day and you forget the big picture, things will catch up to you pretty quickly, and I think your longevity will be very short.
Yes, sir. I mean, you know what? So accurately, and from my perspective, I remember transitioning to Hillsborough, and I did just that, Doc. I transitioned into the day-to-day and didn't see the big picture, and had to, be a fast adopter in the process to see that holistic approach. And I'm so glad you talked about it, because it is so important to that, for you not to lose scope of what you're trying to do. You can't do it in isolation. And you empower individuals, your leaders, your principals, your teachers to do cool things every single day, to do the right things by kids. And, engaging everyone is so important.
The other thing that I think is so critically important is to balance your education mindset with your business mindset. I know a lot of superintendents who delegate the budget, and we have great CFOs and budget directors and executive directors. But I am very, very familiar, and one of the first things we did was make sure that every single penny that we spend is in direct alignment with our mission.
Yes, sir.
And you'll find a lot of dollars are being spent in places they shouldn't be spent.
Yes, sir.
Because they don't have any return on the investment. And so a lot of superintendents will get mired in, we don't have enough money, we can't do it, we don't have the resources. And oftentimes they have the resources in these large districts, they just haven't uncovered them or used them wisely. And so I would encourage superintendents to get not only the relationships and get to know people, but understand your budget, because it drives everything.
It does. I mean, you want to see what's important. And I love it, Doc. You're spot on. You want to, if you can see what's important to a leader and to an organization by following the money.
Yeah.
It will tell you what the priorities are within a school district. And now more than ever, when you look at ESSER, and everyone's concerned, and I hear this ESSER cliff. And honestly, if we spent ESSER in the sophisticated manner that made sense, and not use soft money to put in personnel, and do it right and double down on curriculum and other elements, then we're not going to have a major issue with ESSER. There may be points that we push our legislation or Congress to keep, because we've seen systemic movement with that. But unpacking the budget in today's superintendency is so important to understand what's working, what's not, what we can do differently.
The other thing I would tell you around communication, one of the things that I have shared with colleagues is we have to be careful that we don't communicate in a way that moves people away from us. In other words, our public wants to know that their children, they're going to school, they're going to be safe, they're going to be well educated, they're going to be cared for, they're going to be taught by passionate people. They don't always want to hear we don't have enough money or our class sizes, because while we're trying to garner support, what they're hearing is, oh, so you can't really provide a quality education for my child. And doing that communication piece right is absolutely critical. And then building systems versus little islands everywhere.
Sure.
Because those are the kinds of things, when the systems are up and running, when the people are bought in, when your money is in order, when you understand your purpose, you can withstand the challenges of the job.
I love it. And, for those who are listening, or if you're watching, what Doc just talked about is so powerful in understanding that we don't drive people away. I've never heard it in that perspective, because now with Choice, Doc, it's everywhere. And our job is to make certain that we're customer friendly, we're evolving every single day, and that we're not copy and pasting funding, we're not copy and pasting initiatives, but we're doing the right things to be able to serve our children every single day. Yeah. Spot on, Doc.
Absolutely. Well, we can learn a lot about our community, and they can learn a lot about us, but it's a great profession. And you think about it, I have a lunch coming up with a number of my former student athletes. I used to coach wrestling when I was teaching. Yeah. And to see them now at 44, 45 years old with their own, I actually have had the privilege of giving my old wrestlers their children's diploma.
Wow.
And so when you see that evolve, when you see this really does make a difference, when you see the parents having their own children and you had a role in that even though you didn't know their children at the time because they didn't exist, that's the beauty of public education.
Yes, sir.
It's a game changer. And that's why I say, that quote by Mark Twain, out of the public school grows the greatness of a nation. That's what it's all about. Yes, and that's what people should be talking about when they talk about public ed.
I agree, sir. And, as you transition and done some really cool things in your school district, I got to talk about some of the highlights. Not only have you built systemic change, not only have you really focused on building a culture, activating the whole community for 360 accountability and collaboration and involvement, but you've had some remarkable staircase approach movements to academic improvements. One being graduation rates. And it gets harder every single year, graduation rates, because so many complexities socially, so many political complexities, so many traumatic complexities, family complexities. But what you're doing in St. Vrain Valley, I want to know is over 90% graduation rate. I think it's around 93%. Tell us, how did you do it? And you're leading in the geographical area, school districts that are your size are in that space for graduates. You're leading the cohort. How are you doing it?
One of the benefits of being the superintendent for 16 years is I have seen preschoolers graduate, and I've also now seen the next cohort of preschoolers moving into the second or third grade. High quality I know people talk about this, but we've had high quality preschool and full day kindergarten in our system for my entire superintendency, and those are the kids who are now You take the standards, the curriculum, the instruction, the assessments, and you create alignment. You create great working environments for your teachers, and you hire the very best, and then professional development is robust, and compensation, and the way in which they have career ladder opportunities. Right. You build out the technology, you build out the programs, you get an entire system involved, and then you add time. And I know that people say, well, it's got to be quality time. Well, of course it's quality time. Nobody's talking about adding seat time. But we have after school 3 days a week, courses or opportunities for students to stay. We provide transportation and meals, give them extra learning, and then we have extended all the way through the month of July for K through 8, through the month of June, K through 8. So all of that extra time with small classes, scientific reading interventions, targeted interventions, e-recovery.
So needed.
It's a systems approach, and we talk about, it's surgical. You drill down deep on what every child needs and their parents. And we have a lot of kids who struggle with poverty, and they're graduating on time too.
That's awesome.
So it's a team effort, but it's something that we're really proud of.
Yeah, I can hear it's about systems and processes and creating that sense of care. There's also an opportunity that we see that, students of color, the Hispanic population in your school district, they're thriving too. They're getting to the finish line. They're having equitable access to high quality instruction and high quality courses. You know what? Tell us about that awesome accomplishment.
Well, when they get to start with a high-quality preschool and full-day kindergarten, regardless of the socioeconomics, and we also have, on the other end, 5 P-TECH programs.
Okay.
So our students can earn their associate degree at no cost to the student.
Wow.
And it's in computer information systems, cybersecurity, business, teaching, and the medical and biosciences. And so when these students realize, I've got a 2-year associate degree at no cost, going right into a job, making $60,000 a year, or I can pursue any of the advanced manufacturing certification programs, welding and optics and electronics, or the 4-year. Once the opportunity becomes real, then all of the other things kind of dissipate. The discipline, the attendance, the drive, the motivation. And I have seen it. It's been incredible. And when you think we're getting close to 90% on time,
That's awesome.
but when you look at dropout rates at 0.6, a lot of these kids are graduating in 4.5 years or 5 with an associate degree.
0.6.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean,
So-
that just, it really speaks to your teachers and your leaders that are just, being champions of kids from cohort to cohort, from grade level to grade level, experience to experience, counselors, academic histories, just giving them that sense of hope every single day.
You know what else has been big? In addition to academics, all of the others, like we have now in the high 80 percentile in terms of participation with athletics, with
Wow.
music, with
Extracurricular.
debate, all of that.
Oh.
That's been huge. And we're seeing our kids excel. Athletically, we have the highest percentage of state championships of any district in Colorado. Our music programs, and kids that are involved with those great teachers, if you can reach 100% involvement in co-curricular, you can reach 100% graduation rate.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? That's a fascinating number too. We got to understand as we're in educational systems, you know what? Our schools, elementary, middle, and high school, are always going to be a part of who we are in our story. And it is so important to be actively engaged in before, during, and after school activities. It just develops who we are as a person and gives us experiences that we'll be able to take characteristics and traits and build upon and really do some special things outside of it. The other thing is, as we talk about, is there's an opportunity for you to be able to, you're a growing school district, right? And I hear in the ballot coming up in the 2024, there's going to be a bond opportunity. Yeah. And, but as a referendum is being pushed out in the community, there's not going to be additional taxes on your community. Talk about, the need for the bond, how that money will be used, and why won't taxpayers be able to see any type of increase?
Well, we have about 33,000 students. We're going to be growing out to about 70,000.
Wow.
And so it's a continuous state of growth. So that's the need. And we also have to maintain the current schools.
Sure.
So we have 60 schools, and we have to maintain those facilities as well as build new ones, and then all of the safety features, the HVAC systems, the air. So all of that need is definitely there. And because we have so much growth in the assessed valuation of our 411 square miles, that increase covers the majority of a bond, and then we've also paid down our debt years prior to the requirement.
On that.
And so the combination of those two things means we can go for a large bond and not increase anybody's tax rate.
That's awesome.
And so we're excited. We just did our initial survey, and it came back extremely high.
Yeah.
So it's near 80% saying that they would approve, and then you've got about 10 or 15% undecided, and then a 5 or 6%.
Sure.
So we're excited about that, but it's we're in 24/7 campaign mode, with or without a bond.
That's right. Every
know?
day. You know what? When we talk about deferred maintenance, we talk about growth and development. Your school district is thriving academically, thriving socially, extracurricularly, but also thriving in growth. And so when you talk about, connecting the community, and 80% in a pre-survey, and I think polling's important in this process for those who are going out for referendums. You need to know where you are. But I think the campaign is so important to talk about how the money's going to be used, bring clarity to the community, bring accountability into the community, maybe have a steering committee in that process. So kudos to you, and you're doing some really good things.
The thing, Addison, I'll tell you, is they'll never accuse us of going out when we have a bond. We are in 24/7 campaign mode every year. And so when you do go out, they're not like, oh, here they come because they need. No, it's not about that. You know me, I know you. We talk all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that trust is important. And we do have the oversight committees.
Sure.
And we do have all of that in place. And it's all in writing, so it's not like we're going to bait and switch anybody.
That's right.
And, we've got a history. I've passed 4 initiatives out of the 4. And in every single one, we have done exactly what we said and more. And so they're not having to figure out, are you guys for real?
Sure, and I think that is so important. For those who are going out for referendums or aspire to go out, promises made have to be promises kept.
That's right.
And there's got to be clarity in it. So what you say you're going to do, you've got to be champions of it. And I think, Doc, the other thing is, as they get through it, communicating your wins and how that money's being used periodically throughout the referendum. So if there's an opportunity for a re-up, there's clarity in the process.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's communication, connection. It's all in the mix, as you well know. And so it's an exciting time. And the thing is, people always say you're maxed out in Colorado because after 40 years you actually pay to go to work. And I said, well, I might pay, but I get so much more in return.
Absolutely.
In terms of love of the job and purpose.
Yes, sir.
So it's good.
Well, you know what, Doc? I see it in your heart. I see the smile on your face. I see the successes and how proud you are of what you've done in your school district. You know what? Today here in Superintendents Unplugged, have a chance to be able to sit and connect with Dr. Don Haddad. He's been a true champion for children, champion for change. Until next time, we look forward to seeing you on Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis.